Thank you for viewing Tim O'Grady's EDT 6030 final project. The project will be based upon a set of instructional activities set up for solving quadratic equations and graphing quadratic functions. The unit will span 7 days. The unit has been designed to involve game-based learning, inquiry-based learning, and resource-based learning. The demographics at South Elgin High School are as follows. 55.5% of the students are Caucasian, 6.1% are African American, 25.7% are Hispanic, 9% are Asian. 34.8% of the students at South Elgin High School are identified as low income. South Elgin High School is a very diverse school. My particular class is a little bit different than the demographics at the high school. My Algebra 1 class is comprised of 23 students. These students have been identified as having low mathematical skills. 13 of the students are on free or reduced lunch. There are also no IEPs or 504 plans. Due to the fact that there are low-level mathematical skills in the class, the last part of class, there is a co-teacher to help with individual student needs. The students will come into this unit having mastered some previous knowledge. One of those topics mastered will be solving linear equations. This will be helpful because they'll understand what it means to solve an equation. This will help them understand what we're doing when we're solving a quadratic equation. The other piece of information that they will have mastered is graphing linear functions. It's important that they have mastered graphing linear functions so they are not new to graphing when we are developing strategies to graph quadratic functions. Special attention to lesson planning needs to be addressed due to the type of student in this class. The students are in need of activities. They have a hard time staying still during a long period of time. They also need a lot of encouragement. They need to enjoy what they're doing, and they need to be encouraged to fight through the difficult math problems. They also need praise. They need to know when they're doing a good job, and they need to be rewarded for it. Common Core State Standard REI 4B, solve quadratic equations by inspection. Example for x squared is equal to 49. Taking square roots, completing the square, quadratic formula, and factoring is appropriate to the initial form of the equation. Recognize when the quadratic formula gives complex solutions and write them as a plus bi for the real numbers a and b. Will be addressed during this unit. This unit will cover the following school standards as set up by the South Elgin High School Algebra 1 team. Unit 2, Learning Target 1. I can solve quadratic equations by factoring. Unit 2, Learning Target 2. I can graph quadratic equations by finding the x-intercepts. While completing the unit, the following learning outcomes will be addressed. Students will solve a quadratic equation with 100% success. This will be assessed on the Kahoot quiz on day 3, as well as the quadratic assessment on day 7. Second learning outcome is students will graph a quadratic in factored form with 9% success. This will be assessed on the mini quiz on day 5, as well as a quadratic assessment on day 7. The final learning outcome is students will graph a quadratic in vertex form with 90% success. This is assessed on the quadratic assessment on day 7. There are a few teaching and learning strategies used during this unit. The first is resource-based learning. Resource-based learning is when I'll be giving the students different resources to investigate in order to answer a question. The first is on day 1 when students need to find out what a quadratic equation is. They will go to the unit site, the Google site, and click on the tab, What is a Quadratic? There will be different articles and videos for the students to watch. This will be done in the lab, and students will have headphones in order to answer this question. The next time the students will be completing a resource-based learning activity is when they're completing the Vertex Forum stations. The students will be traveling around the room to different stations where there are different resources provided to them. They'll receive an article from online. They'll watch a video from the virtual nerd. They will also investigate using the Desmos calculator on the smartboard. And finally, they'll be reading a section from their textbook about the Vertex Forum. The second type of teaching and learning strategy is game-based learning. The first time the students will be completing a game-based learning activity is when they visit Khan Academy on day 2. The students will be watching videos from Khan Academy at their own pace to either review the material from the day before or move ahead if they already get the material. When they are done, they'll be completing a game where Khan Academy asks certain questions. They answer the question, and Khan Academy will tell them if they're right or wrong. Their goal will be to get as many questions as they can correct. They'll be getting instant feedback from Khan Academy. Another game they'll be playing is Kahoot. The students will think it's more like a game, but it's actually an assessment for me. It'll tell me how much the students know at the end of the game. The students, though, will be given a certain amount of time to solve a quadratic equation, and they'll be inserting their answer on their cellular device. Inquiry-based learning will also be used during this unit. It'll be used in the form of Desmos.com's online calculator. As you can see, I have a graph, x minus a times x minus b graphed on Desmos. What the students will be allowed to do is move the slider back and forth, changing the values of a and b. When they do that, it'll appear different on the graph. Students will then ask questions, discuss with people around them, and formulate ideas about what they see. The resources for all the activities during the unit are organized on the unit Google site. They'll find resources for answering what is a quadratic. They'll have the review videos and games for day 2. They'll be allowed to access Kahoot via the link on the site. They will also be able to follow along with the Desmos calculator on their own phone if they like to. They'll get all their Vertex Forum resources for the stations on the website, and they'll be able to find the unit survey for the end of the unit to give me feedback. The assessment will be organized by the school learning targets. Each assessment will have a header for each learning target, and then questions that will allow students to prove their mastery on that learning target. They'll assess if the student participated in all activities and mastered all the material. They'll be graded based upon the district standards-based grading policy. They'll receive a 1 if there is no content shown. They'll receive a 2 if they show they have basic knowledge of the topic. They'll receive a 3 if they show that they are proficient, and they'll receive a 4 if they prove that they are masters on the topic. At the end of the unit, the students will be allowed to complete a unit reflection to let me know how they enjoyed each activity. The student survey will be provided on the class Google site. They'll answer questions about each activity, stating what they liked about it and if they think it worked. They'll also be able to provide their own suggestions to improve next year's unit. There are many technologies that will be used during this unit. There will be a smartboard used to project the Desmos calculator, as well as provide some slides for direct instruction. YouTube will be used to provide the students with some videos they can use to learn at their own pace. Khan Academy will also be used for the same reason, as well as a review game for the students to complete. The computer lab will also provide enough electronic devices for each student to watch videos at their own pace. Students will be able to use cellular devices to complete the Kahoot activity. Also, the online calculator from Desmos will be used for many activities. following are issues that may arise when using each technology. First, some students may not have cellular devices that can connect to Kahoot. In this case, I'll allow students to buddy up to complete the activity. When in the lab, to watch videos at our own pace, some students may not have headphones to watch the videos and prevent from distracting each other. In this case, I will ask the students to watch the videos very quietly. If it still is an issue, they'll have to read an article on their own. Also, I always have some chalk available just in case the smartboard light bulb runs out. It is always my goal for the students to master material, engage the students, and motivate the students. By using resource-based, game-based, and inquiry-based learning, I will accomplish these goals. The students will complete activities, be proud of their achievements, and be proud of the things that they discover.